Bill said it was fine to introduce him, but he had one rule: nothing laudatory. So with that in mind, yes, you can imagine it's going to be short. I'll try to keep it short, but Bill Oberst Jr. was born and raised right here in Georgetown County. He still splits time between here and Hollywood, where he is a professional actor who has garnered more than 30 national and international awards, including an Emmy, while saying nothing laudatory. Let's just note that's not unimpressive. Bill is known for his macabre roles, such as his performance as a serial killer on the CBS series Criminal Minds, yet his range goes well beyond the villain character. He has put on one-man stage performances playing iconic figures: Mark Twain, Louis Grizzard, Jesus of Nazareth. To this list, he has now added Ray Bradbury, and the response to Ray Bradbury live forever so far has been, well, without saying anything laudatory, let's just say the response has simply been. Can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. Bill Oberst Jr. is an actor's actor, someone who's committed to the work, to the stage, and to the set, not to the spotlight, not to the red carpet. Nothing laudatory is his style, his code. He's here today to give something more than a talk, to make a performance happen. He's given us this great opportunity to see him in person, and today we get to judge for ourselves. Please welcome Bill.
And this is where we went, I thought. Now here, now there, upon the grass, some 40 years ago, I had returned. And I had walked along the streets, and I had seen the house where I was grown, and had my endless days, and now, the days being short, simply had I come to gaze, to look, to stare upon the thought of those once endless summer afternoons. But mostly, I wish to find the places where I ran. I ran as boys do run before or after dogs. I ran on paths put down by Indians or brothers wise and swift pretending in a tribe. I came to the ravine and half slid down the path, a man with graying hair and supple thoughts, and saw that the place was empty. Fools, I thought. Oh, boys of this new year, don't you realize that the abyss awaits you here? Ravines are special, lovely, fine, green, and secretive, wandering with apes and thugs and banded bees that steal from flowers and give to trees. Caves echo here, and creeks waiting to wade for loot. A crayfish, a precious stone, a long-lost rubber boot. 'Tis a natural treasure house. Why the empty place? Why do boys no longer race and stand them still to gaze and contemplate Christ's handiwork? His pure blood bled in syrups from the lovely wounded trees. No matter. Walk, 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 look, and sweet recall. I came upon a tree where once, when I was 12, I climbed up and yelled for Skip to get me down. It was 1,000 miles to earth. I closed my eyes and yelled. My brother, richly compelled to mirth, gave shouts of laughter and scaled up to rescue me. What were you doing there? He said. I did not tell. Rather dropped me dead, for I was there to place a note within a squirrel's nest on which I had writ something long and old and now forgot. And now, in the green ravine of middle years, I stood beneath that tree and said, why, Mike? God, that's not so high. Why did I shriek? Can't be more than 15 feet above. I'll climb it handily, and did, and squatted like an aging ape Alone and thanking God that no one saw this foolish, old, ancient man at such antics, clutched grotesquely to the bowl. But ah God, what awe! The squirrel's hole and the long-lost nest were there. I lay upon the limb a long time thinking, and I drank in every leaf and every weather and every cloud that passed as mindlessly as days do pass. What if? I thought, oh, what if? No. 40 years beyond? The note I put in the nest long since stolen off by now. A boy, a screech owl's ran and pilfered and tattered it. My God, it's scattered to the lake like pollen, like chestnut leaf, like smoke of dandelion that breathes along the winds of time. Gone. No. I put my hand into the hole. Nothing. My fingers dug deep, still more nothing. But digging deeper still, I brought forth the note. Like moth wings, powdered neatly upon themselves, folded close, it had survived. No rains had touched, no sun had bleached its stuff. It lay in my palm. I knew its look. Ruled paper from an old Sioux Indian had scribbled writing book. What did I write in words so long ago? I opened it. For now I had to know. I opened it and wept. I clung to the tree, and I let the tears roll along my face, and down my chin I let them. Oh, dear boy, oh, precious child, who must have known the years and reckoned time and smelled sweet death from flowers in far churchyard. It was a message to the future, to myself, from the young to the old, from the me that was small and fresh, to the me that was large and no longer new. What did it say that made me weep? I remember you. I remember you. When Ray Bradbury wrote that poem, he was already an old man, or so he thought. He was 54. He lived another 40 years almost, to 92. Today would have been his 99th birthday. It would not have been enough. Nor would 100, nor would 110, nor would 120. When Ray was a boy in Waukegan, Illinois, a carnival magician touched an electrified sword to his nose and cried, "Live forever!" That's what Ray Bradbury wanted to do, to live forever, and by God, he does, beyond that wall, on those shelves, propped up against his heroes, Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, Edgar Allan Poe, they're all there, I just checked. He lives, he lives, he lives, he lives. He lives in the library. There's no place he would rather be. So how did this happen? How did a poor boy from Waukegan, Illinois, whose family was often on public assistance, how did a boy who was so poor that he attended his high school graduation in a murdered uncle's suit, bullet hole and all, a Depression-era boy born in 1920, who had no money for college or anything else, who went to the library to educate himself with no reading list, pulling books off the shelf, falling in love or not falling in love, for 10 years, until he figured, now I can graduate. How did such a boy come to inspire Star Trek's holodeck and design Walt Disney World's Spaceship Earth? And to be eulogized by Steven Spielberg in the words, "He was my muse," or by Stephen King in the words, "He is immortal," or by the President of the United States in the words, "Ray Bradbury is imprinted upon the American mind." How in the world did this happen? He did his work. Ray was big on work. He used to say, "By doing things, things get done." The simplest credo, but you'll find it's true. Inertia, he said, is the enemy. So every morning, he got up and worked. This is the way that he told them that. He would say, "By doing things, things get done." I've written 1,000 words a day since I was 12 years old. I wrote my first novel when I was 12. It was terrible. Wrote 1,000 words a day for 10 years, a short story every week. They were all terrible, absolutely wretched. And then finally, in the 11th year, I wrote a good one. It wasn't magic. It happened because I stopped thinking. I've got a sign right above my typewriter. Every morning I see it. It says, "Don't think." I started doing what I still do every morning. I recommend it to you. Get up, and first thing, before you do anything else, write down whatever nouns are in your mind. Write them down. Don't think. If you think, you'll make stuff up instead of telling the truth. Just write it down. The bat, the woman, the storm. What's in your mind? What's in your subconscious? Listen to your subconscious. It's all a mystery. Nobody knows. Don't listen to them. If they tell you, they understand because they don't. One morning I woke up and I wrote the words, "the nursery." Now why did I write the nursery? I got to find out, huh? Nursery. What kind of nursery? Nursery of the past? No. Nursery of the present? No. Nursery of the future? Yes. That's interesting. What would be in a nursery of the future? So I started making a list of things it would be. In a nursery of the future, my wife says, "Coffee's ready." And I said, "No coffee right now. I'm in a nursery of the future." And I'm typing like crazy. And then I thought, what the heck? I'll have a man of the future come home. And he's talking to his wife. And they're in the kitchen surrounded by these marvelous machines. And she begins to complain. And she says, "George, I wish you'd look at the nursery. There's something wrong with the nursery." I don't know what the hell she's talking about. So I follow down the hall to the nursery. And I say, "Show me the nursery." And she opens the door. We step in. And by God, there's Africa. In the nursery, the hot sun of all the trees, the dove land, the lions feeding in the distance, in the heat of blood. What is Africa doing in the nursery? I don't know. And I say, "Tell me." And I write down everything that they said. And she started talking about the children. The children have been playing in the nursery, and they're fixating on Africa, and they don't like the fact that the father is going to close down the nursery, and boom, there's the story. Now, when I woke up that morning, I had no idea that I was going to be writing about that story. But Africa was in my subconscious. You see, it had been there all those years because Tarzan lived in Africa, and Mandrake the magician. And I've been thinking about Africa since I was 5 years old, and Tutankhamun came out of his tomb, and I saw that golden mask in the newspaper, and I said, "My God, I want that face to be mine." It's all in your subconscious. And this is the only way to live that I know of. You ask me how to live. I say, this is the way to live. It's got to be fun. It's got to be an adventure. You say, "Well, that's fine for you. You're a writer. You're supposed to be nuts." I got to live in the real world. Say, are you happy in that world, huh? Are you excited in that world? Are you enthusiastic in that world? And if you're not, why aren't you looking for something to be enthusiastic about? My God, the time is so short. It's so short. How can you refuse life? How can you not be in love with something? That was Ray. And as you can imagine, he must have been exhausting to live with. That is exactly the way he was. So his wonderful wife, Maggie, who had a poetic and a literary background, much more so than Ray, she would proofread all of his stories. And she told him what was good and what was bad, and gave him ideas for many of them. He wrote over 400 short stories, novels, essays, screenplays. He wrote the screenplay for John Huston's version of Moby Dick, starring Gregory Peck. Huston had read a story that he wrote called The Foghorn, about a dinosaur, which I'll read to you in a moment. And he thought he smelled Melville and the sea. He invited Ray over to Ireland to write the screenplay. Wonderful experience. Not for Bradbury, because Huston was a bully. He found out that Ray was a sensitive man, and if you bullied him enough, he could make him cry. And that was the end of that. Ray cried and wrote in Ireland for months. It was a good screenplay. He wrote up until he died. He had a stroke. Shortly before he died, couldn't write anymore. He called up his long-suffering daughter, Alexandria, and he dictated. He was working on a short story when he died. He never stopped. Some of it was lousy, some of it was great. But as he said, do your work. By doing things, things get done. No American author since Twain, I think, has been as prolific. And no American author ever, I believe, has written as convincingly of childhood or been more loved by young readers. He said he loved being loved by young readers because old people are liars. And I know because I am one. We lie about everything, don't we? We lie because we're afraid. We lie because we're afraid of love and beauty. A child looks at a thing and falls in love, and a child says, I love this thing. This thing is beautiful, this thing is good. We look at a thing, we fall in love, and we say, do I love this thing? Is this thing beautiful? Is this thing good? You must never ask that. Never, 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 never. You must name your feelings first. Then you can apply logic to them. Don't ask me, am I in love with this man? Am I in love with this woman? How do I know? Are you in love? Yes, I'm in love. Okay, boom. Now you can apply logic. Are you married? Then you shouldn't be in love. Right? Then you can apply logic. But reason comes after passion. You can't put it the other way around. So that's why Ray said, get it out. Get it out. In fact, to use a rather crude but not vulgar analogy, he compared it to upchuck. He said, you must find out what's inside of you. And then you can look at it and say, my God, is that what I was feeling? Is that what I was thinking? And therein, I think, lied his genius. I found him in the woods, behind what is now Walmart, on an autumn afternoon when I was 14. I was a lonely boy because I was a sissy boy, a fat boy, a smart boy. I was a smart kid, ugly kid, fat kid, sissy kid, all in one kid. So I got the crap beat out of me on a regular basis. And I would spend time myself. So I got a Western Flyer bicycle and take off in the woods, park the bike, walk in the woods. In the woods, nobody could make fun of me. Love my books. I'd go and just take a book into the woods. Probably had one with me there that day. But on the ground, in the pine needles, something glinted. The sun hit the cover of this golden book. And there was this man, this odd man with glasses, this dorky man looking up at me, past the trees, up into the sky, as if there was something to see up there. It actually made me look up. What are you looking at? And I pick it up and I see S is for Space, Ray Bradbury, New Tales of Wonder from the Master of Imagination. What's this? I pick it up. I didn't know it, but I was following Ray's advice when he said the way to tell if you're in love with a book is open it up. Not at the beginning, don't do that. That's what they want you to do. Open it up in the middle. Start reading. If you fall in love, you're in love. If not, throw it away. Pick up another book. That's what I did. And I came upon a story called Pillar of Fire. It's about a future society which does not value superstition or Halloween, which was coming up. A society in which dead people are bad and reminders of mortality and morbidity, and so they are burned immediately with no ceremony, and they go in bright flames up to the sun, and no one thinks anything superstitious or dark. There is no darkness in this world. And there's one corpse left, one corpse that they forgot to exhume, and he wakes up. And his name is William Lantry, and he's the last dead man on earth. And after a chase, he's found out, and he's on his way to the incinerator. And he realizes that once he's gone, all of the things that he knows and loves will be gone. And I was too young to see that this is a metaphor for ourselves. But these words absolutely blew me away. As they're taking him into the incinerator, wheeling him on the table, William Lantry says, I am Poe. I am all that is left of Edgar Allan Poe. And I am all that is left of Ambrose Bierce, and I am all that is left of H.G. Wells, and I am all that is left of a man named Lovecraft. I am a gray knight back with sharp teeth. I am the Necronomicon. I am the Book of the Dead. I am the House of Usher falling into flame. I am the Mask of Red Death. I am Halloween. I am a coffin lid. I am a shroud. I am an organ played in an attic at midnight. I am a yellow-clawed hand opening the pages of a volume. I am an autumn-wrapping shutter. I am an empty tree. I am a costume behind an oak tree on Halloween night. I am a footstep on an empty stairwell. I am the Phantom of the Opera. I am the pit. I am the pendulum. I am the gorilla. I am the bat. I am Hamlet's father on the castle walls. All these things am I. And now these things will be burned. I am all of them that goes on and will not go on after tonight. Tonight we burn together, all of us, Poe, Bierce, Wells, Hamlet's father, we burn together. They will make a bonfire and they will burn us like things of Guy Fawkes' day. Gasoline, torches, cries, and all. And the world will be clean of us. But what a wailing we will put up. Because we will say in our going, what is your world without imagination? Where is your imagination? Gone! Obliterated! Wiped out by rocket people, by incinerator people, by television people, by screen people. Replaced by lights that burn so brightly, no shadows, and doors that open and close without warning. Oh, if only you could know how we lived. If only you could know what Halloween was to us, and what Poe was, and how we gloried in the dark morbidities. All this exists in one brain on earth, and a whole world is dying tonight. One more drink of Amontillado before the burning, monsieur? One more drink, I pray you? And then he's gone. My 14-year-old mind didn't know what to do with this information, but I knew that I loved this man who wrote it, because there was something in his mind or his soul or his words that I responded to, because I too was lonely. And Ray wrote about loneliness, I think, better than anybody else in the world, about yearning. Without sadness, without pessimism, but acknowledging that we're trapped in these bodies, and that to live is to carry a profound sorrow. Everyone carries a profound sorrow. He could also blow a boy of the space age's mind with questions like, if Jesus came here, did he come on other planets? I'm paraphrasing. Here is the unparaphrased version. It's from a poem called Apollo Christus. We seek new gardens to know ourselves. Apollo's missions move, Christ we seek. And we wonder, as we look among the stars, did he know these? In some far universal deep, did he tread space and visit worlds beyond our blood-warm dreaming? Did he come down on lonely shore by some sea not unlike Galilee? And are there mangers on far worlds that knew his life, and virgins, and sweet pronouncements, and enunciations, and visitations from angelic hosts? And shivering among 10 billion lights, was there some star, much like the star at Bethlehem? And did otherworldly shepherds see the sight with awe and revelation on a cold and most strange morn? On worlds on high did wise men gather in the dawn to look upon a stranger child than ours. Oh, how many stars of Bethlehem burned bright beyond Orion and Centauri's blinding arc. And how many miracles of birth all innocent, have blessed these worlds. I think kids should read stuff like that. Provocative, beautifully put, stays in your mind. When I was putting together this presentation, I thought of what Garrison Keillor said about Mark Twain. Keillor famously said, he lived a fabulous, wonderful, astounding life, but in the end, his own writing is more interesting than his biography. And that's true of Ray too. And so I chose two pieces to bring to you. So I'm going to do a very dangerous thing, which is to read to you. And that's why I stayed up and turned the lights up really bright. This is a piece from Dandelion Wine. If you were ever a child, I recommend Dandelion Wine to you. It's one of the best indications of American childhood ever. I recommend it to kids too, even though there are no cell phones or screens or anything virtual in it. It's quite universal. The hero of the book learns about everything in one summer in Waukegan, Illinois, the summer of 1930. And one of the things that he learns about is times of passing. And this is great-grandmama's leave-taking from Dandelion Wine, if you'll indulge me. She was a woman with a broom or a dustpan or a wash rag or a mixing spoon in her hand. You saw her cutting pie crust in the morning, humming to it, or you just saw her setting out the baked pies at noon or taking them in cool at dusk. She ran porcelain cups like a Swiss bell ringer through their place. She glided through the halls as steadily as a vacuum machine, seeking, finding, setting to rights. She made mirrors of every window, polishing them to catch the sun. She strolled through her garden, trowel in hand, and the flowers raised their quivering fires upon the warm air in her wake. She slept quietly and turned no more than 3 times each night, as relaxed as a white glove into which at dawn a brisk hand will return. Waking, she touched people like pictures and set their frames straight. But now, today, now, Grandma, said everyone, great-grandma. Now it was as if a huge sum in arithmetic were finally drawing to an end. She had stuffed turkeys, chickens, gentlemen, boys, squibs. She had washed ceilings, walls, invalids, and children. She had laid linoleum, repaired bicycles, wound clocks, stoked furnaces. She had mended 10,000 grievous wounds. Her hands had flown all around and down and down. Her hands had gentled this, held that, thrown baseballs, swung bright croquet mallets. Her hands had seeded black earth. She had pulled down shades, pinched out candles, turned switches, and she had grown old. Looking back on 30 billions of things started, things carried out, things finished and done. It all summed up, it totaled up, the last decimal was placed, and the final zero swung into line, and she knew it. And now, chalk in hand, she stood back. She stood back. And she looked at life, a silent hour, before great-grandmama reached for the eraser. Let me see now, she said. Let me see. And with no fuss, no further ado, she traversed the house in an ever-circling inventory, reached the stairs, and making no special announcement, she took herself up 3 flights to her room where silently she laid herself out like a fossil imprint under the cool sheets of her bed, and she began to die. And again the voices, Grandma! Great-grandma! The rumor of what she is doing dropped down the stairwell, hit and spread ripples through the rooms and all along the street, even down to the edges of the green ravine. Here now, here, the family surrounded her bed. Shh, she said, just let me die. Her ailment could not be seen at any microscope. It was a mild but ever-deepening tiredness, a dim weighing of her now sparrow body, sleepy, sleepier, sleepiest. And as for her children and her children's children, it seemed impossible that with such a simple act, the most leisurely act in the world, she would cause them such apprehension. Great-grandma, listen! Said, "Father, now what you're doing is no better than breaking a leaf. The house will fall down without you. You must give us at least 1 year's notice." She opened an eye. 92 years gazed calmly out like a dust ghost from a high cupola window. "Tom, send Tom over here." The boy went to her whispering bed. "Tom," she said, "in the southern seas, there's a day in each man's life when he knows it's time to shake hands with all his friends and say goodbye and sail away, and he does, and it's natural. It's his time. Now that's how it is today. I'm like you, Tom, shifting through Saturday matinees till 9 at night when we have to send your dad to bring you home, but there's a time that comes when the same cowboys have been shooting the same Indians for 92 years on the same mountaintop. And then it's best to fold your seat and head for the door with no regrets, no walking backwards and no looking back at the screen. I'm leaving while I'm happy, Tom, and I'm leaving while I'm still entertained." Douglas was summoned next to her side. "Grandma," he cried, "who'll shingle the roof next spring?" Every April for as far back as you could remember, when you thought you heard woodpeckers tapping on the housetop roof, it was not woodpeckers, it was great-grandma. Great-grandma in April, above your head, singing, pounding nails, replacing shingles, great-grandma high up in the sky. "Douglas," she said, "don't let anyone do the shingles unless it's fun for them. Look around you some April and say, who wants to fix the roof? And whichever face lights up, that's the face you want. Because up there on that roof, Doug, you can see the whole town, the whole country going to the edge of the earth, and the river shining, and the morning lake. You can see the trees under you, and best of all, the winds all around you. And any one of these should be enough to make a person get up, climb a weather vane some spring morning. It's a powerful hour at 5 in the morning on the roof, Doug, if you give it half a chance." Her voice sank to a soft flutter. Douglas was crying. She roused herself again. "Now," she said, "why are you doing that?" "Because," he said, "you won't be here tomorrow." She took a hand mirror and turned it from herself to the boy so they were both reflected. He looked at her face and himself in the mirror, then at his face. And great-grandma said, "Tomorrow morning I'll get up. Tomorrow morning I'll get up at 7 and I'll wash behind my ears. Tomorrow morning at 7 I'll run down to the church with Charlie Woodman, and then I'll picnic at Electric Park, and I'll swim, and I'll go barefoot, and I'll fall out of trees. I'll cut my lip, I'll chew spearmint gum." "Douglas, for shame. You cut your fingernails, don't you?" "Yes'm." "Well, you don't yell when your body makes itself over every 7 years or so, do you? Old cells dead and new ones coming to grow your fingers and your heart. You don't mind that, do you?" "No." "Well, consider it, boy. Any man who saves his fingernail clippings is a fool. You ever see a snake bother to keep a peeled skin? That's what you got here today on this bed, boy. Fingernails and snake skin. One good breath would send me up in flakes. The important thing is not the old me that's lying here. It's the me that's sitting on the edge of the bed looking back at me. It's the me that's downstairs cooking supper. The me that's out in the garage, under the car, in the library, reading. All the new parts. You count. I'm not really dying today. No person ever died that had a family. I'll be around for a long time. 1,000 years from now, a whole town of my offspring will be biting sour apples in the gumwood shade. And that's my answer to anyone who asks big questions. Now go, send in the rest. At last, the entire family came, like people seeing someone off at the rail station. They waited silently in the room. "Well," said great-grandma, "here I am, take a look. I'm not humble, so I'll say it's nice seeing you standing around my bed. Now next week there's late gardening and closet cleaning and clothes buying for the children to do. Since that part of me which is called, for convenience, great-grandma, won't be here stepping along, those other parts of me called Uncle Bert and Leo and Tom and Douglas and all the other names, well, they'll have to take over, each to its own. All right?" "Yes, Grandma." "I don't want no Halloween parties here tomorrow. I don't want no one saying anything sweet about me. I said it all in my time and in my pride. I've tasted every victual, I've danced every dance. Now there's one last tart I haven't bit, one last tune I haven't whistled. And I ain't afraid. I'm curious. I'm truly curious. Death won't get a crumb by my mouth that I won't keep and savor. Don't you worry now. Go on. Go on. Let me have my sleep. A door closed quietly. That's better. That's better. Alone, she snuggled luxuriously down through the worn snowbank of linen and wool sheet and cover. And the colors of her patchwork quilt were as bright as the banners of old-time circuses she had visited as a girl. Lying there, she felt as small and secret as on those mornings 80 years ago when, wakening, she comforted her tender young bones in bed. It's a long time back, she thought. I was dreaming a dream. I was enjoying it so much, and someone wakened me. That was the day I was born. And now, let me see now. She set her mind back. Where was I? She thought, 90 years. How do I take up the thread and pattern of a lost dream? She put out a small hand. Yes, there. That was it. She smiled. Deeper in the warm snow hill, she turned her head on the pillow. That's better. Yes, now she saw it shaping in her mind quietly, and with a serenity like a sea moving along an endless shore. She let the old dream touch and lift her from the snow and tripped her above the bed. Downstairs, she thought they're polishing silver and rummaging through the cellar and dusted in the halls and calling a preacher. She could hear him living all through the house. It's all right, whispered Great-Grandma, as the dream floated her. It's all right, she said, like everything else in this life. It's fitting. It's fitting. And the sea moved her back down along the shore. When he wrote that. That's what a life of reading can give you, an astounding insight into other people and their lives. How can he know so much about old age or middle age as a young man? Astounding. It's one of the reasons I love him. No American writer wrote more about libraries. His most famous novel, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Do not see the movie, read the book. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people say, oh, I saw that movie. Do not read the book. The book is dense and nuanced because it's a book. When Ray picked up books and interviews, you can watch on YouTube countless interviews, he'd do this. Ah, my God, that's the sweetest pollen. Egyptian grave dust. And he wouldn't allow any of his books to be made e-books while he lived. They did it after he died, not for Ray. He said, you got to pick up a book. He talked about librarians when he was a kid and how they were different and that they all seemed to be 100 years old. They're much prettier now, he said. He wrote a salacious poem about their lives. I did it in my show a couple of times, and I've dropped it now because people don't know what to make of it. But you're a library crowd, so maybe you'll get it. He said when he was going to college, the library, every night for this decade, there were 3 librarians at the front desk of the Los Angeles Library, and he called them the 3 Fortunes or the 3 Crones. And you had the Iron Maidens, you had to sneak out past them, anything he was sneaking out. When Ray was sneaking out was stacks of those little reference slips they used to have on top of the Dewey Decimal cabinet, remember? That's what he wrote his short stories on because he couldn't afford paper. And then he'd take them home and he'd type up. So he had drawers full of these slips of paper he'd sneaked out past the Iron Maidens. And he said they were so stern, but he saw a hint of a smile behind them many times, and he wondered, why are they smiling? And so he wrote this: the ladies in the library did not go home at night. Stand watch outside the mellow place at 9, crouch down in bush an elderberry vine. Gaze up the windows tall, where ancient brides go quiet as the dust, past shelves with titles ranked like foxes' eyes, they glint sparks of lust. The night drops down, the lustful books gape wide, and into these the ancient funeral flower souls now rattle, rustle, tickle, hide, and hiding rest, each to its age, each to its own and proper nest. Squashed flat twitch Robin and his nimble, nibbling Min, and Arthur, who, if thanked, will pull Excalibur from them at breakfast time. The maids all night are maids no more. All made bookmarks and tucked into books where loving makes a din 10 times louder than in the world outside the shelves. Such screams, such gladsome moans of happiness drifting down to dreaming sleep at dawn. Come back at noon and see the ancient cronies three. Propped up at desk, tipsy, drunk, and tenderhook, looking as if the sun was still the moon. Give book, give smile, go off. Do not ask, for you will never know where, oh where, oh where at night these long-lost cold-ship marble ladies go. And you gave more reaction than any of my audience, who sort of stared. The library. Ray said, people who don't read books scare me. Because a man who does not read is a man who will never imagine that he can be wrong. E-books, internet research, you can keep them, thank you. Step into a real library and swim in the aquarium of time. Wander the shadowed stacks and meet John Carter and the wizard and Blind Pew coming the other way. Climb the stacks like an old lady and meet Vern on his way to the moon, or the first Sherpa on Everest, or Captain Nemo. My God, what's he doing up here at the bottom of the sea? Lug 10 books home with their smell of baking bread and their bright eyes and their lively tongues, and then dash back to the bakery. Touch the books, smell the books, hold the books, dog-ear the damn wondrous things with your canines. The library, the library, the library. Once I found my 8-year-old daughter Susan reading Moby Dick. I said, "You reading now, Bill?" "Yep." I said, "How do you like it?" She said, "Fine, but I skip a lot." I said, "That's all right, so do I." That's the only way to fall in love. And so, in this library, I wish Ray, wherever he was, a happy birthday. Ray said, everyone must leave something behind when they die. He said this in Fahrenheit 451. Everyone must leave something behind when they die. So your soul has a place to go. And a lot of it will be wrong, but just enough of it will be right. And when people look, you're there. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as you touch something, as long as you love something, as long as you change something from the way it was before you came to something that's like you after you're gone. The difference between the man who just cuts lawns and the gardener is the touching. The lawn cutter might just well never been there at all, but the gardener will be there a lifetime. Ray said that he hoped he had touch. I believe that he did. He certainly touched me. I'm going to leave you with a piece, if you will indulge me, called The Foghorn. And I want to read you the whole thing. If you get tired or need to go to the bathroom, it's fine. It's a short story. But Ray is building a case here for, well, I'll let you decide what he's building the case for. Out there in the cold water far from land, we waited every night for the coming of the fog. And it came. And we oiled the brass machinery, and we lit the fog light up there in the tower, feeling like two birds in the gray sky, McDonough and I. The light was touching out red, then white, then red, then white to eye the lonely ships. And if they didn't see the light, there was always our voice. The great deep cry of the foghorn, shuddering through the mist. It's a lonely life out here, ain't it? Asked McDonough. Yep. I said, but you're a good talker, thank God. Well, it's your turn on land tomorrow, he said. You get to dance the ladies and drink gin. McDonough, when I leave you alone out here, what do you think about? I think on the mysteries of the sea, said McDonough. It was 7:15 of a cold November evening. The heat was on. The light was switching its tail in 200 directions. The foghorn had the high throat of the tower. You couldn't see far. You couldn't see long. It was dead country out there, the sea. Stretch of 2 miles of cold water out to the rocks. I think on the mysteries of the sea, said McDonough. You know, the ocean's the biggest damn snowflake ever. It rolls and swells 1,000 shapes and colors, and no two are alike. I'll tell you something, boy. One night years ago, I was all alone, and all the fish of the sea surfaced out there, right out there. And something made them swim in and just lay there, sort of trembling and staring up at the tower, going red, white, blue across them. I could see their funny eyes. I turned cold. They were like a big peacock's tail, moving out there till midnight. Then, without so much as a sound, they slipped away, and the million of them was gone. I kind of think maybe in some way they came to worship. That's strange. But you think how the tower must look to them. 70 feet above the water, the godlight flashing out from it, the tower declaring itself with a monster voice. Don't you think for a minute, just a minute, that they thought they were in the presence? I shivered. I looked out to the sea, stretching away into nothing and nowhere. Oh, said McDonough, the sea's full, boy. He puffed his pipe. He'd been nervous all day, but he wouldn't say why. For all our engines and so-called submarines, it'll be 10,000 centuries before we set foot on the real bottom of the sunken lands. Think about it. It's still the year 300,000 before Christ down there. And while we paraded around with trumpets lopping off each other's countries and heads, they've been living beneath the sea 12 miles deep in a time as old as a comet. It's an old world. Come on. Got something to show you. Come on. We ascended the 80 steps, talking, taking our time. At the top, he switched off the lights so there'd be no reflection. The great eye of the light was humming, turning easily in the oiled socket. The foghorn was blowing steadily, once every 15 seconds. Sounds like an animal, don't it? Big, lonely animal crying in the night. Sitting here on the edge of 10 million years, calling out to the deeps, I'm here! I'm here! And the deeps do answer, boy. Yes, they do. Well, you've been here 3 months, so I better prepare. About this time of year, something comes to the lighthouse. What do you mean, the swarms of fish? No. Something else. I put off telling you because you might think I'm daft, but tonight's the latest I can put it off for if my time is right, and I believe it is. This is the night it comes. It's come in 3 years. You're the first person ever to be here to verify it. Now you sit here. If you want, you can leave tomorrow. You can pack your duffel. You can take the motorboat on the land, get your car parked at the dinghy pier, and you can drive into an inland town. You can start a land life. You can keep your lights burning nights, but tonight you sit here. Half an hour passed, only a few whispers between us. One day, said McDonough, one day I think a man walked along a lonely shore in a cold ocean, and I think that man said, we need a voice to call across the water and warn the ships. I'll make one. I'll make a voice that's like an empty bed beside you all night long, like an empty house when you open the door, the sound like the birds flying south crying in November wind. I'll make a sound that's so alone that no one can miss it, and whoever hears it will weep in their souls. I'll make me a sound and an apparatus, and they'll call it a foghorn. And whoever hears it will know the sadness of eternity and the briefness of life. You made that story up, I said. Yeah, he said, I made it up to try to explain why this thing comes. Thing? Shh, said McDonough. There, he nodded to the deeps. Something was swimming toward the lighthouse. It was a cold night, as I said. You couldn't see far. But there in the deep, a shape was moving. A shape flat and quiet, the color of gray mud. And the two of us were alone in the tower. And there, out first, was a ripple, and then a wave, and then a rising, and then bubbles and a bitter froth. And from the surface of the cold sea came a head, a large head, dark colored with immense eyes, and then a neck, and then not a body, but more neck, and more neck, and more neck. The head rose a full 40 feet above the sea. And only then did the body, like a little island of black coral and shells, dip up. There was a flicker of a tail. In all, from head to head, I estimate the monster was 100 feet long. I don't know what I said. I said something. Steady, boy. Steady. It's impossible. No, said McDonough. We're impossible. It's like it always was. It's like it's been for 10 million years. It ain't changed. It's us and the land that have changed. It swam slowly. It swam with a majesty. The foghorn came and went, and the light momentarily erased its shape and then revealed it. One of the monster's eyes caught and flashed back. The light was red and blue, and red and blue. It's a dinosaur of some sort, yeah, one of the tribe. But they died out. No. They only hid away in the deeps, down in the deep, deep, deeps. That's a word for you, ain't it, Johnny? Down in the deeps, deeps, deeps. There's all the loneliness and coldness in the world in a word like that. What do? We got our job. We can't leave. Besides, we're safer here trying to get to land. That thing's big as a destroyer. It's almost as swift. Why does it come here? In the next moment, I had my answer. The foghorn blew and the monster answered. A cry came across 1,000,000 years of water and mist. A cry so anguished and so alone, it shuddered my head and my body. The monster cried out in the tower. The foghorn blew. The monster roared again. The foghorn blew. The monster opened its great toothed mouth, and the sound that came from it was the sound of the foghorn. Lonely, vast, far away, a sound of isolation. The sound of a cold night. The sound of apartness. Now you understand? I nodded. All year long, Johnny, think of it, that poor monster lying out there, 1,000 miles at sea, 20 million miles deep, maybe. Maybe it's 1,000,000 years old. Think of it. Waited 1,000,000 years. Could you wait that long, Johnny? Maybe it's the last of its kind. I kind of think it is. You come in on land and build this lighthouse. You set it up, and point it out toward the place where you bury yourself in lonely sleep and memories of a world where there were thousands like yourself, and now you're all alone. You're all alone in a world that ain't made for you, a world where you have to hide. But the sound of that foghorn comes, and you awaken from the muddy bottom of the deeps, and your eyes open like the lenses of 2-foot cameras, and you move slow, for you have the sea on your shoulders. You have all the time on your shoulders. The foghorn comes through 1,000 miles of water, familiar. And you begin to rise. You have to rise slow. If you rose all at once, you'd explode. You feed yourself on minnows and rivers of jellyfish and slakes of fish. And day by day, you rise a little higher, maybe a few feet each hour, till finally you're near the surface and you're still alive. It takes months. There you are, the biggest monster in all of creation. And there's a lighthouse calling to you, with a body like your body, and a neck like your neck, and a voice like your voice. You understand, Johnny? I saw it all. I saw the 1,000,000 years of waiting for someone to come back who never comes back. I saw the 1,000,000 years of isolation at the bottom of the sea, the insanity of time there. while the skies cleared of reptile birds and the swamps fried on the lands, and the sloths and saber-tooths had their day and sank in their pits, and men ran like white ants upon the hills, lopping off each other's countries and heads. The foghorn blew. Last year, said McDonough, that thing swam round and round all night. Didn't come near. It was puzzled, I'd say, afraid maybe. Maybe a bit angry after swimming out all this way. But next day, the fog lifted. Sunny as you please, and it swam off. I think it's been brooding on it for a whole year now. The monster was 100 yards off. The foghorn was crying. The monster was crying. They cried at each other. The lights hit them, and the monster's eyes were fire and ice, fire and ice. That's life for you, said McDonough. Someone always waiting for someone who never comes back. Someone always keeping the lights on for someone who will never come home again. Someone loving something more than that thing loves them. And after a while, boy, you want to destroy what that thing is so it can't hurt you no more. The monster was rushing to the lighthouse now. The foghorn blew. Let's see what happens, said McDonough, and switched the foghorn off. The moment of silence was so intense, we could hear our hearts pounding. We could hear the slow breeze turn of the light. The monster stopped, froze. Its mouth gaped. Its great eyes blinked. It gave a sort of rumble like a volcano. It twitched its head this way and that, and as if to seek the sounds now dwindled off in the fog. It peered at the lighthouse. It rumbled again, and then its eyes caught fire. It reared up, threshed the water, rushed the tower, eyes filled with angry torment. My God, I said, McDonough, switch on the horn. He fumbled with the switch, but even so, the monster was rearing up. I saw one of its gigantic paws, fish skin glittering in the webs between the finger-like projections, clawing at the tower. The huge eye on the right side of its head glimmered before me like a cauldron into which I might drop. The tower shook. The foghorn cried. The monster cried. It seized the tower and gnashed on the glass, which shattered in. McDonough seized my arm. Downstairs! We ran, trembling. The tower rocked and started to give way. We half fell down the stairs. Quick! We reached the bottom of the cellar, 100 yards away. We ducked down under the stairs in the small stone cellar, and there were 1,000 concussions as rocks raved down. The foghorn stopped abruptly, and the monster crashed upon the tower. The tower fell. We knelt together, McDonough and I, holding tight while our world exploded. And then it was over. And there was nothing but darkness and the wash of the sea on the stones. That and one other sound. Listen, said McDonough, listen. We waited a moment, and then I heard it. First the great vacuum sucking of air, and then the lament, the bewilderment, the loneliness of the great beast folded upon us, over us. The tower was gone. The light was gone. The thing that had called it across a million years was gone, and the monster was opening its mouth and sending out great sounds, the sounds of a foghorn. And ships at sea, not finding the light, but passing and hearing that sound, must have thought, well, there it is. Lonesome Bay Horn, all's well, we rounded the cape. The sun was hot and yellow the next afternoon when the rescuers came. What happened to the lighthouse? It fell apart, said McDonough. That's all, it just fell apart. No more to be said. We had a few bad knocks from the waves, and she crumbled. He pinched my arm. There was nothing to see. The ocean was calm. There was only algae that covered the fallen stones. The ocean washed empty on the shore. The next year, they built a new lighthouse. By that time, I had a wife and a job in a little town, a good, small, warm house. It glowed yellow on autumn nights. Doors were locked and chimney puffing out safe smoke. McDonough was master of the new lighthouse, built of steel reinforced concrete to his specifications. Just in case, he said. I drove down alone one evening and parked my car and looked out across the gray waters, and I listened to the horn sounding. The monster never came back. It's going away, said McDonough. It's going back to the deeps. It's learned you can't love anything too much in this world, Johnny. It's gone to the deepest deeps to wait another 1,000,000 years. Oh, God, the poor thing, waiting out there, while men come and go on this pitiful little planet, waiting and waiting and waiting. I sat in my car listening. I couldn't see the lighthouse, I couldn't see the light, but I could hear the horn. The horn, the horn. It sounded like the monster calling. I sat there, wishing there was something I could say. When the Curiosity rover touched down on Mars in 2012, NASA named the spot for Ray. And Curiosity sent a message to the people of Earth when it was touching down. I dedicate my landing spot on Mars to you, Ray Bradbury. Greetings from Bradbury Landing. Ray would have liked that. I'll close with you the way I close the show. Ray wrote poems, some good, some lousy, and he knew it. So he always carried one in his pocket. And he would say, "May I read you a poem?" Whenever I had people trapped this way. See? Don't worry, it's a short poem, but it sums up my feelings on man, on God, on man's 8 days on earth, the 7 days of creation, and the 9th long day of man in space, and why I write and why I hope. May I? The fence we walked between the years did balance us serene. It was a place half in the sky where, in the green of leaf and promising of peach, we'd reach our hands to touch and almost touch the sky. If we could reach and touch, we said, 'twould teach us not to, never to be dead. We ached and almost touched that stuff. Our reach was never quite enough. If only we had taller been and touched God's cup, His hymn, we would not have to go with them who've gone before, who short as us stood standing tall as they could stand, and hoped by stretching tall they might keep their land, their home, their heart, their flesh and soul, but they, like us, were standing in a hole. Oh, Thomas, will a race one day stand really tall, across the void, across the universe and all, and measured out in rocket fire, at last put Adam's finger forth as on the Sistine ceiling, and God's hand come down the other way to measure man and find him good and gift him with forever's day? I work for that. Short man, large dream. I send my rockets forth between my ears, hoping an inch of good is worth a pound of years. Aching to hear a voice cry back along the universal wall, we've reached Alpha Centauri. We're tall. Oh God, we're tall. Thank you.
Bill has generously offered to do a brief Q&A afterwards.
Oh,
If
sure.
you would like to do some, ask a few questions.
Yeah, if you have to leave, you know the bathroom and go. There's others out there, but if you have any questions, I sure will.
Yeah.
I'll show you my prop, I forgot. This is a piece of Ray's house. Every time I've done this show so far, somebody has some connection with Ray, especially in Los Angeles, will come up and give me something. And a man came up afterwards and he said, "I want you to have this." So Ray's house, after he died, was sold and torn down. And this is a piece of the stucco wall of his basement office. So within this wall, Ray wrote this and virtually everything else down in his basement all these years. So I keep this for inspiration. That's how much people loved him that they would say, here's a piece of his wall. Anyone have any I hate Q&As because I never have any questions. I'm like, you already did your thing. Are kids reading Ray Bradbury now? I think not. I wish so. I only see Fahrenheit 451 out on the shelves there, no collections of stories. And the short stories are really where it's at. That's where his humanity comes through. Yeah, I don't know if kids are reading much fiction at all anymore that's not related in some way to technology. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the person to answer that, but from my experience at talking to people who have kids and are in contact with their teachers and things like that, the answer seems to be no. And they're not reading Dickens either. And apparently they're not reading Jules Verne or H.G. Wells or any of the sort of great classics of imagination.
I'll just make a comment on that. As a mother of a 14-year-old, classics aren't taught in our schools anymore. It's not part of the literature they're exposed to, unfortunately.
I wonder why.
Contemporary fiction's it. That's it.
I don't understand, because if we're not aware of our commonality, which only comes from reading great humanist writers, then we kill each other. Because we don't understand that we're all the same thing. I don't know, I'm old.
My grandson did have to read Fahrenheit.
Awesome.
Great expectations.
Excellent. Yeah, it's great. I mean, the language is difficult. It's a little more dense, but there's a reward at the end of it, I think. So what I'm trying to do with this show, I developed it, not only people who remember Ray, but I want to get college audiences interested. And I mean, it's great that they read Ray, but I wanted to read something that's dense and full and nuanced. For me, personally, growing up as a lonely boy, reading so many books helped me a lot. Because all of this stuff that I read showed that, oh, other people are lonely too. Dinosaurs are lonely. Oh, other people have their heart broken too. Here's something from ancient Greece talking about heartbreak. And it really helped me not to feel that my little experiences were in any way unique. I felt a part of a larger whole. And I think you get that from books. Yeah.
How do you get your program to colleges or to schools? How would you get that?
With great difficulty so far.
Do you contact them?
I do. Yeah, I'm just starting to try to figure out, this show's my baby, and I'm trying to figure out how do I market this and how do I sell this to people. Because, it's not an easy sell. I wanted to come and do a show about a dead writer.
Yeah.
And then you have to go from there. Even though people have peripherally heard of Bradbury. Oh, did he do the Twilight Zone? No, that was Sterling.
Yeah.
Oh, he wrote that 451 book, right.
Yes.
So, yes, that's what I'm trying to do, is to contact and to show them the value of it.
Well, what can we do to help you further that?
Oh, sure, yeah. Have people contact me.
The colleges and...
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to. It's my passion once I sort of rediscovered him, because in this actual suit, in fact, with the fancier tie, I was on a red carpet. I've been on many red carpets out in Hollywood, and that's not bragging everybody. You go to the grocery store and the lady at Kroger's like, yeah, I got a red carpet, I gotta go. I was on a red carpet, and it was a homeless guy who was obviously hungry, right outside the red carpet, and I walked right past him along with everybody else and went in to have our pretty pictures taken. And I looked back at him, and something just hit me, man, and I was like, I gotta do something, I'm losing my soul. And so I went back to Bradbury, started reading him again, and so that's why I'm so passionate about him, because like in that opening poem, Remembrance, I feel like I've returned, and it's the place I can hang out till my time's done.
Thank you.
Is it more powerful for you to do this show here where you really did discover him for the first time?
Yeah, she asked if it was more powerful to do it here, powerful to do it in a library, powerful to do it here. Yeah. I mean, my house is like a mile and a half from here, Litchfield, and yeah, this area I grew up, and yeah, it sure is. I try to remember what I was like when I was 14. Do y'all ever do that when you try to remember what was I like? And I can't. But there's a part of that boy in there, right? It's not,
Yeah.
when you look in the mirror, you see like all the ages you ever were. It's very strange. What do you do, don't you? You see yourself at 14 and 17 and 50 and whatever it is, and it's very odd. But I feel a connection to that boy. I'll sum this up, I'll let you go out and get long. At the end of the Wrath of Khan, I'm a Star Trek guy.
Yeah.
At the end of the Wrath of Khan, Kirk is going through all of this hell, most of it of his own making, by his own decisions. There's been death and betrayal, and he's lost his best friend, and everything. And he's going through it all, and they're heading back into space, and McCoy comes in, and McCoy says, "How do you feel, Jim?" And he says, "Young. I feel young." Take her out, Mr. Sweet. And that's the way I feel. And Bradbury said the same thing. He said, as long as you keep your sense of wonder, then so long are you young. All right, thank you. Have some thank
This is your work there. I think Ray Bradbury would be very proud of the Thank you, Bill. And Nancy Braxton, one of our wonderful volunteers with the Friends, has a gift for Bill here from Patty Callahan. This is Becoming Mrs. Lewis, C.S. Lewis.
Maybe C.S. Lewis will be his next.
Another great writer.